Part 16. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 151. To put it so bluntly. Let Yakushi Nanoyo's whole body become dry. However, she didn't know what to think and did not refuse the question with Uchihasuke. Ji-kun, I live in Konoha Orphanage, room 301 on the third floor of the dormitory building. After saying that, Yakushi buried his face in Uchihasuke's body. Uchihasuke's questions are straightforward and she can answer them concretely. Everything is tacit. Fortunately, Yakushi Kabuto was still around, and Uchihasuke did not continue to tease Yakushi Nanu, otherwise Yakushi Nanoyo would have to experience the romance of France. However, Uchihasuke did not let go of Yakushi no 427 easily. In the corner where Yakushi Kabuto couldn't see, Uchihasuke pinched Yakushi Nuno's a few times. Then he let go of Yakushi Nanoyo. Now that everything is agreed upon, let's leave first. This is what Uchihasuke said on the surface. Secretly, Uchihasuke turned his back to Yakushi Kabuto and made a mouth gesture to Yakushi Nunwoyu. Leave a door open for me tonight. Then, Uchihasuke took the linen clothes and left the orphanage. On the way back, Mabai hesitated to speak. Azabi, just tell me what you want to say. Is there anything else you need to hide about our relationship? Are you worried about the expansion of the Konoha orphanage? Ji-kun, I thought you didn't know that Konoha's finances can't support so many orphanages. After all, Konoha needs money in too many places, such as public health, ninja welfare, and funding for ninja schools. The money given by the daimyo is simply not enough to cover the cost of border garrison supplies. Uchihasuke pinched Azabuye's little nose and said, I thought you were holding back, but actually I know everything you said. But these are not problems. Konoha will have plenty of money in the future. Ji-kun, Konoha doesn't have enough money right now. Don't worry, you can let the Uchiha family take care of it during this period. The Uchiha family is very rich. But, isn't that your clan's money? It would be too inappropriate to use it in Konoha. This is simple, just think of it as money lent by the Uchiha clan to Konoha. Moreover, I plan to write a letter to the daimyo in the near future to apply for more funds. Will the daimyo agree? The war is over. He will agree, Uchihasuke said meaningfully, not referring to anything. Uchihasuke doesn't know why the Hokage system is so awkward. It is clear that the shadows in each village have real fighting power, and the ninja village is also a violent institution in this world. However, above the ninjas, there is actually a daimyo who is an ordinary person, and countless ordinary people of the noble class. The Uchiha clan is rich precisely because they occupy a lot of resources, such as minerals, fields, etc. However, compared with many nobles of the Fire Country, some of them pale into insignificance. He is obviously an ordinary person, but he has a lot of wealth, which is like a 3-year-old child holding gold bricks in his hand while walking through the busy city. Uchihasuke now controls Konoha, so naturally he doesn't want someone above him to hold him down. However, the name is still being used for the time being. Uchihasuke has always pursued a policy of not taking action but leaving no way to survive. He now needs a relatively peaceful period to accumulate emotional value and strength. When his control over Konoha, or in other words, when his control over the entire ninja world reaches a higher level, the daimyo will naturally be destroyed. Jijun, since you know what's going on, that's fine. I will do exactly what you want. Mabai, don't blame me for making good decisions. How can anyone dare to blame you? Looking at Azabuye with a shy face, Gensuke Mecha glanced at the end of the alley out of the corner of his eye. This place is located in a remote place, deep in the alley, dark and quiet. Uchihasuke let go of his perception, and there was not a single figure within a very long distance. So Uchihasuke's mind moved, and he took Azabuye's hand and entered the depths of the alley. Azabuye was confused at first, wondering what Uchihasuke was doing by dragging her along. Just follow Uchihasuke obediently. Until the surrounding environment became dim, and then there was an unleashed claw on her leg. Azabi instantly understood what Uchihasuke meant. Azabi didn't stop Uchihasuke, though. Instead, he rolled his eyes at Uchihasuke, stood on tiptoes, and took the initiative to bring the little mouth to the door. Uchihasuke looked at Azabu as if he was ripe. Knowing that he has come to harvest time. It's a pity that if you are listening to Lei Xiaoyu in the alley now. Although it is a pity, Uchihasuke also feels very satisfied by collecting some interest in advance. The sun sets over the western mountains. The light in the alley became darker and darker, the vision became blurry, and the sound of water droplets tick-tock 3.7 tick-tock could be heard vaguely in my ears. Half an hour later, Uchihasuke and Azabuye walked out of the alley. By this time, the black silk on the legs of the linen clothes had disappeared. However, looking at the way Azabi walks, we can see that Uchihasuke didn't do too much, otherwise the time wouldn't be so short. After Uchihasuke delivers Azabi to the Hokage building. Turn around and walk silently towards the base of the roots. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 152. Now that he has met Yakushi Nanoyu, Uchihasuke is ready to solve Yakushi Nanoyu's problems. In the meantime, go give Shimura Danzo a beating. The ninjas in the route are more active than usual these days, which has made Uchihasuke a little impatient. While Uchihasuke was still on his way to the route, Shimura Danzo had already received the news and was waiting at the door for Uchihasuke's arrival. Uchihasuke did not hide his whereabouts, so it was not surprising to see Shimura Danzo, who had been waiting for a long time. Assistant Hokage, I wonder what you have come to ask for this time. There are two things, one is a private matter and the other is a public matter. Let me talk about the private matter first. Shimura Danzo said nothing and listened silently. First of all, let me tell you, Yakushi Nanoyu is my woman, and she will have nothing to do with Genbu from now on. You understand? Shimura Danzo is no stranger to Yakushi Nanoyu. After all, Yakushi Nanoyu is also an extremely good ninja at heart. Being able to make Shimura Danzo sacrifice his dignity and temporarily release 07 Shino no for a period of time is enough to prove the excellence of Yakushi Nanoyu. If Uchihasuke is asked to give up Yakushi Nanoyu for the sake of Uchihasuke, Shimura Danzo is not unable to let go. But what made Shimura Danzo feel very unhappy was that Uchihasuke's tone seemed to be giving orders to subordinates. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen never had such a conversation with him. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your acquiescence. Let's get down to business. From today on, the roots will be disbanded. Some ninjas will enter Umbu to continue serving Konoha, and the remaining ninjas will be assigned to the borders of Konoha to guard the territory. Uchihasuke said this, Shimura Danzo could no longer remain calm. Assistant Hokage, you cannot dissolve the roots. The roots are the shadow of Konoha, just like there must be darkness when there is light. Light and darkness do exist in this world, but light and darkness themselves are one, aren't they? And now darkness is in the hands of individuals. Shimura Danzo was silent, but it could be seen from his expression that he would not dissolve the roots. Uchihasuke had anticipated Shimura Danzo's thoughts. Shimura Danzo, today I finally understand why it was Sarutobi Hiruzen who became Hokage, and you could only become a bug underground. He is more knowledgeable than you and knows when to give up. Remember now that I am the Hokage assistant, everything in Konoha is under my permission. Umbu can do things that the root can do, and Umbu can also do things that the root cannot do, do you understand? This is the first and last time I am informing you. I hope you will be smarter. After Uchihasuke finished speaking, no matter what Shimura Danzo thought, he left here with a chuckle. Now that the overall situation of Konoha has been decided, a mere Shimura Danzo Uchihasuke has never been taken seriously. As for not killing Supreme Danzo directly, it was because Uchiha was waiting for an opportunity. A chance for Shimura Danzo to die on the same pillar of shame as Yotatan Koharu and Mito Kato Homura. It would be too cheap to kill Supreme Danzo Shimura Danzo directly. Shimura Danzo looked at Uchiha, not caring about his retreating figure, wiping the scepter in his hand, and veins popped out on his back. It seemed that Uchiha came to him for two things today, one was a business matter and the other was a private matter. But in the eyes of Shimura Danzo, Uchiha only wants to do one thing for him, which is to humiliate him severely. Shimura Danzo wanted to attack Uchiha, but held back. There is no way, now Uchiha's strength is too strong, let alone a head-on fight, even ambushing him is not confident enough to kill Uchiha. And this is Konoha. Once he takes action against Uchiha, he will completely follow Uchiha's response. At that time, he would not be able to argue. Facing the now strong Umbu and Uchiha's powerful harem group, Shimura Danzo had no chance of winning. Damn it, Uchiha's son, if I allow you to be arrogant for a while longer, I will definitely kill you, he. Shimura Danzo snorted coldly and left with his men, directly abandoning the root base behind him. As for the impossibility of letting Shimura Danzo dissolve the roots, he would only turn the roots into darkness, and it was enough to dismantle the roots and show them to Uchiha. Shimura Danzo originally wanted to return home to rest, but he became more and more angry on the way, and finally turned to the land of the Sarutobi clan. Hey, Danzo, you're such a rare visitor, you haven't been here for a while, how come you have time to come see me recently? Sarutobi Hiruzen greeted him with a smile. Without the Hokage position and the conflict of interest, the two of them have resumed their previous relationship as good friends. At the same time Sarutobi Hiruzen noticed the anger on 680 Shimura Danzo's face. He smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Someone has messed with you. Let me guess, is it Uchiha?" "Humph, he's just a brat from the Uchiha clan, and he asked me to disband the roots even though he opened his mouth. He is now at the height of his power in Konoha. If you are asked to disband him, you will have no choice but to disband him. A small person will mess up the big plan. I understand this, but the more I think about it, the more angry I become. How dare a young man look down on us like this? There's nothing we can do about it. Now they have more power than us, and they can't beat us again and again. We can only endure it." Sarutobi Hiruzen is very experienced at this point, just bear with it and it will pass. After a moment of silence, Shimura Danzo was stunned by Sarutobi Hiruzen. There is indeed no way now, but I have found a way to reduce his strength. Shimura Danzo said pointedly. Then he took out a document. Intensify the update today. There are more than 55,718 flowers, please continue to add more. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 153. Sarutobi Station. The living room is filled with lingering smoke, as if in a fairyland. When Sarutobi Hiruzen heard what Danzo said, he immediately put down his pipe, his eyes full of curiosity. These days, Sarutobi Hiruzen feels refreshed and looks much better. Because everything was being implemented steadily according to their plan, it went extremely smoothly. The only thing that worries Sarutobi Hiruzen is how to weaken Uchiha's strength. Unexpectedly, Shimura Danzo brought good news this time and found a way. Soon Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes fell on the files on the desktop. Seeing the 3 words on the header of the document, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned slightly, with a trace of confusion flashing in his eyes. The Land of Snow. Sarutobi Hiruzen has been the 3rd Hokage for decades, and he is no stranger to snow country, a remote country located in the northwest corner of the continent. It is covered with snow all year round, and the sun is rarely seen all year round. Due to the common reason of being blocked by snow, the land of snow has been in a state of disconnection from the ninja world most of the time. In addition, material resources are not developed and it is far away from Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen never had snow country in his heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more curious now. He didn't know how the snow country fell in love with Shimura Danzo. Raising his hand to pick up the document, Sarutobi Hiruzen read it carefully. Soon, he understood what was written on the document. The content of the document is very simple: a coup. The king of the Kingdom of Snow was killed by his younger brother Feng Huanu Tao and usurped the throne. Then Princess Koyuki, the only descendant of the former king of Snow Country, sent a request for help to Konoha on behalf of the country. Normally, Konoha would not pay too much attention to this document. At most, if the chips given by Snow Country are sufficient, they would send ninjas to rescue the only daughter of the king of Snow Country from Snow Country. But that's all. Danzo, can this file eliminate Uchihasu's power? It seems that just sending a Jonin over can complete this mission, right? If it is just to rescue the princess of Snow Country, it is true that just sending any Jonin can complete the mission, but, what if it is to restore the country? Danzo, are you kidding me again? As for the Snow Country, can it afford the commission for the restoration of the country? If it can really afford the commission, we Konoha can help them collect the national literature, Ananda. Ninjas earn commissions for completing tasks, don't shudder. No matter how difficult the task is, as long as the chips are high, Konoha can complete it. Not to mention that it is just a small snow country, so there is no pressure on Konoha. Shimura Danzo smiled mysteriously when he heard this. Normally speaking, Snow Country cannot afford to pay our Konoha commission, but Snow Country happens to have one thing that can attract Uchiha. Oh, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of something when he heard this. After all, he is also an old pervert who has been hiding for many years. Lao Seppai knows Lao Seppai best. Sarutobi Hiruzen flipped through the document again and quickly stopped on the page about Princess of Snow Country. Princess Feng Koyuki. The title page contains a brief introduction and images of Princess Koyuki. In her 28th year, she is a down-and-out princess with a sweet appearance. Especially the status, this is a real princess. Sarutobi Hiruzen instantly understood what Shimura Danzo meant. Seeing the change in Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, Shimura Danzo smiled proudly. Now that we know Uchihasu's weakness, of course I'm also paying attention to how to let him take the initiative to get out. Doesn't this give us an opportunity? I believe Uchiha will definitely be unable to hold back after seeing the picture of Feng Huaxiaoxiu. At that time, we will only need to blow some wind, such as the establishment of diplomatic relations between Konoha and Snow Country. Konoha secretly controls Snow Country and consolidates the country. Yes, transcendent status and other great righteousness. I believe Uchiha will not refuse. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded cooperatively, but soon he frowned again. But, Danzo, Snow Country is just a small country. Even if there are ninja villages, can they force Uchiha to use Mangekyo Sharinan? Sarutobi Hiruzen, you don't understand this. Although the snow ninja is not strong, but with the unique geographical location, every snow ninja can skillfully use ice escape. Of course, this is not bloodline, just because of the weather. They have improved on the basis of water style. This has made their ninjas' local combat capabilities several levels stronger. And according to my gossip, Snow Ninja also has a special chakra armor, which can give a person the strength of Jonin. And their leader Feng Hua Furadao uses the strength of elite Jonin, plus chakra. The armor is already infinitely close to Shadow's strength. Although he is certainly no match for Uchiha, there shouldn't be any problem if he consumes Uchiha's eye power. And, just to be on the safe side, I plan to make contact with that organization. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned slightly. That organization? Danzo, are you talking about the Akatsuki organization you mentioned to me 2 days ago? Yes, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Does that organization really have the potential you say it has? I'm not sure about this yet, but don't you know if I pay some money this time to let them show their faces? If they don't have the strength, they will be destroyed. If they have the strength, then we can compete with Hanzo of the Salamander contacted me. After all, those are the legendary eyes. Danzo, you are worthy of it? You are still as sinister as before, but I like it. Shimura Danzo smiled faintly and said, everything is for Konoha. Ha, Zhao Zhao, ha, yes, everything is for Konoha. The two looked at each other and smiled. The two then began to discuss the specific details of the plan. The other side. Uchiha House. Uchihasuke works late at night. Kusina and the others live up to expectations and repay each other through the spring. Until late at night, Uchihasuke finished admiring his achievements and was about to go to bed. Uchihasuke suddenly remembered something he had almost forgotten. Thank you everyone for the flowers. This chapter will be updated with 1,200 evaluation votes. It will be updated in advance. Please ask for evaluation votes. It should be no problem. I wasn't active in updates some time ago, maybe because I had too little pressure. The data has not moved. If the evaluation votes were now 4,000 or 5,000, the author's keyboard would have been smoking. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the list. Chapter 154. Konoha Orphanage. Yakushi finished washing early and lay on the bed. Thinking of what Uchihasuke said this afternoon, she deliberately tightened the window screen. She even blushed and pulled out a high silk suit that she had never worn before. Looking at the seductive side in the mirror, Yakushi Nanoyo's face was full of shyness, and he wrapped himself in the quilt with only half of his head exposed. She had some vague guesses about what would happen next, but most of the pictures were filled with blanks. After all, she had never experienced it, but she was eager to try it. If it's Jejun, anything can be done. Especially when she thought back to when Uchihasuke teased her today, her body's reaction made her linger, and she still couldn't finish it. However, Yakushi waited until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Until early in the morning, there was no sign of the door being left open. Even in the quiet night, not a single footsteps appeared. Yakushi Yanai couldn't help but feel a little confused. He stared blankly at the moon in the sky outside the window screen, feeling a little aggrieved. Didn't you ask me to stay at the door? I've kept the door, but, where are the people? If Yakushi Nanoyo was still a little scared before, now, she feels more resentment in her heart. Somehow, Yakushi Nanoyo suddenly thought of Azabuyi. Is she Azabi's secretary? It is said that Uchihasuke also has a secretary named Samui with a hotter figure, and Kusina, and... Thinking about it this way, it seems that it is not unreasonable for Uchihasuke not to come to me. After all, there are so many little wives at home. And I am such a boring person, knowing nothing and knowing nothing. Even now, Yakushi Nanoyo doesn't know why Uchihasuke fell in love with her. Uchihasuke didn't come for a long time, and she subconsciously began to doubt herself. If Uchihasuke needs her as a subordinate, she will still be very confident, because she is indeed an outstanding, ninja. However, when it comes to being a woman, Yakushi Nanoyo has no confidence or experience at all. In his wild thoughts, Yakushi Nanoyo didn't know when and how he fell asleep. Late at night. When Uchihasuke sneaked into Yakushi Nanu's boudoir, he found Yakushi Nanu lying on his side on the bed. The moonlight shone through the gauze covering the side of her face, making her look particularly peaceful. It's just that the corners of Yakushi Nunwoyo's eyes seemed a little moist, and there were obvious tears on his face. Although he didn't know what happened, Uchihasuke vaguely realized that it was because he came late today, which caused Yakushi Nanoyo to have random thoughts. He is really a sensitive person. However, it's normal to think about it. After all, Yakushi Nunwoyo reported his home address directly, as if he had prepared everything. Unexpectedly, he almost forgot about it. Uchihasuke felt a little distressed. In fact, this afternoon he had noticed Yakushi Nanu's character. On the surface, he seemed gentle, but on the inside, he was very sensitive. However, who knows that he is not a good person? Uchihasuke was ready to take action as compensation and pounced directly. Uchihasuke's movements were wide open, and Yakushi Nanoyo was soon awakened. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, but soon she had no time to think about these messy things, because her emotions and thoughts were all led by Uchihasuke. Because it was the first time I met Uchihasuke, he felt apologetic, so Uchihasuke was particularly gentle. But it backfired. During the process, Yakushi bit her lip lightly and blushed. "Jijun, can you use a little more force?" Yakushi Nunwoyo detonated Uchihasuke with one sentence. A night without words. Uchiha didn't stop until the sky became slightly brighter. Originally, Uchihasuke thought that was the end of the day. Who would have thought, after a short rest? Yakushi showed a completely different side to her gentleness. "Jijun, can you do it again? Please pinch my neck." Then, Uchihasuke skipped work all morning again. Until the afternoon of the second day. Uchihasuke just left the Konoha orphanage and headed to the Hokage office. On the way, Uchiha could only think about Yakushi. "Please be rough with me. If you don't walk on some roads, you really don't know what kind of roads they are. On the surface, it looks like a quiet and peaceful path, but I didn't expect it to be so wild and crazy. But this contrast is really unsatisfactory." Uchihasuke, who was full of joy, did not know that there were two old men in the Hokage building, and they waited all morning with a black line on their faces. Hiruzen, this brat from the Uchiha clan, is so arrogant that he was not in the Hokage office all morning. Does he still have this sleepy leaf in his heart? It's really too much. Sarutobi Hiruzen admitted that he likes fishing, but he still works at work. What's even more outrageous is that Uchihasuke's two secretaries did not let them wait in Hokage's office, but asked them to wait in the lounge next to Hokage's office. This lounge is usually a lounge prepared by Konoha to welcome foreign envoys. Now using it on them, as if they were not from Konoha, doubled the anger in their hearts. We are outsiders? However, they agreed on one thing. Both Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen believe that Uchihasuke must be on the skin of a certain woman now. After all, in their eyes, Uchihasuke is either looking for a woman or on the way to find a woman. In fact, they guessed it right. Uchihasuke is really on a woman's skin. And moving from one to another. There will be more than 55,967 flowers tomorrow. Please continue to add more. Please give me flowers, review votes, monthly votes, and data. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 155. Hokage Building. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen Shimura Danzo was harboring bad things in their hearts, even if Uchihasuke didn't come, they endured not leaving and just waited. The two of them had such a lively discussion last night that they didn't sleep much all night. They even came to the Hokage building excitedly early in the morning. Didn't even eat breakfast. As a result, we waited until noon and Uchihasuke still hadn't arrived. They didn't eat 2 meals in a row, and their stomachs growled with hunger. Moreover, they are getting older. Not only are they hungry now, they also start to feel sleepy at noon, and their eyelids are trembling. However, Uchihasuke, whom they longed for, still didn't come. The sun rises in the east, and sets in the west. Until dusk fell, The two finally couldn't bear it anymore, got up, and came to the door of Hokage's office. Dong dong dong. Sarutobi Hiruzen knocked hard on the door twice, seeming to express his dissatisfaction. In fact, he wanted to break in directly, but the door was locked, and there was some kind of sealed restriction on the door to prevent violent break-ins. This scene was completely different from when they came in the morning. Thinking of the unusual relationship between the two secretaries in the office and Uchiha Suke, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo looked at each other. Almost instantly, they knew that Uchiha had returned. However, they became even more angry after learning the news. Uchiha Suke has obviously come back, why didn't he go to them and instead did some perfunctory things in the office? This attitude of being ignored made the two of them furious. In fact, since the end of the war, the two of them have avoided meeting Uchiha Suke. If it weren't for the little worries in their hearts this time, they wouldn't take the initiative to touch Uchiha. Not seeing each other, so hello to you, hello to me, and hello to everyone. Damn it, Danzo couldn't help but slam the crutch in his hand on the floor. At this moment, Uchiha Suke's lazy voice came from the door. Who is here so late? So rude. Hasn't the office appointment system been implemented? Unless I see you, if you want to see me, make an appointment one day in advance. Azabuye, does this person outside the door have an appointment? This sentence sounded as if it was meant for them to hear, and in fact it was indeed meant for them to hear. Because the ban on the door of Hokage's office has the effect of blocking the sound, and this sound is obviously not blocked. Ji-kun, it may be Sarutobi Jonin and Shimura Jonin. They came once early in the morning. Maybe there was something urgent, so they are here again now. Come again? What do you mean, here again? Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo felt like they were going crazy. They obviously didn't leave at all. Not only did Uchiha Suke not take them into consideration, but even the two secretaries next to Uchiha Suke didn't take them into consideration. Shivering. At this moment, the two of them felt so stupid for sitting in the lounge next to them all day. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that the ninjutsu he had practiced for decades was almost broken at this moment. Hiruzen, calm down, don't forget our plan. Shimura Danzo was also very angry. However, he was the one who came up with this plan. In order to achieve their goals, they must endure no matter how difficult it is. After about another 10 minutes, the door to Hokage's office slowly opened. At this time, it was time for the Hokage building to get off work. Many ninjas passed by the door of the Hokage office and saw Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo waiting at the door. Whispering and whispering. I saw that they didn't have an appointment. If I had made an appointment one day in advance, I wouldn't have waited so long at the door. Now even a 3-year-old child in Konoha knows that office appointments must be made in advance. This will not only greatly improve efficiency, but also reduce the work intensity of the staff and complete the work in a more orderly manner. SHH, keep your voice down. I was a Hokage before. I guess I have some privileges, right? Privilege? We in Konoha believe that everyone is equal, no matter who comes. Although the voices of these ninjas had been lowered, there was no way they could escape the ears of Sarutobi Hiruzen. His face turned red and black at times. Zero, please give me flowers. At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen really wanted to kick open the door and talk to Uchiha Suke. In all his life, this was the first time he had waited at the door of Hokage's office for such a long time. And this office once, also belonged to him. But after Sarutobi Hiruzen remembered their plan, he suppressed all the anger in his heart. Not only that, he also had to show an indifferent look. Don't let Uchiha Suke see the flaw. Hey, it's really Sarutobi Jonin and Shimura Jonin. I wonder why you two came to see me. You look very anxious. Come in. Zero. The person who opened the door was Azabuye, but there was no Samayi in the room. Samui is now in the newly opened lounge in the Hokage office, specially built by Uchihasuke. Because Samui had no clothes to wear and died in the fight just now. Who told Samui to get a nurse's uniform from somewhere? It was a specially made and improved model, which was not durable at all. As soon as Numtung opened the door, he left the Hokage office and went to the courtyard to get clothes. On the road, Azabuye also thought about preparing some clothes in the lounge in the future. Otherwise, it would be too troublesome to keep going back and forth like this. Assistant Hokage, this is the Hokage office after all. I hope you can put your work first in the future. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was holding back his anger, he couldn't help but said. Uchiha smiled, work? Sarutobi Jonin is questioning whether I did a good job. If something is not done well, please point it out directly, Sarutobi Jonin. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way I work. Is Konoha not doing well right now? Although Uchihasuke's voice sounds casual. However, the momentum was instantly suppressed. There are more than 55,967 flowers today, keep adding more. Asking for flowers, asking for evaluation votes, and asking for monthly votes. The monthly ticket has not been increased for several days. Loss. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 156. Hearing Uchihasuke's unceremonious voice, Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated. As a bystander, he knows best whether Konoha is doing well now. After the end of the Third World War, Konoha became the truly strongest ninja village and was recognized as the strongest in the ninja world. It is definitely more prosperous, open, and wealthy than when he was in office. If Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't say something that was obviously against his will, he really couldn't say it. Shimura Danzo was also choked and speechless. You can accuse Uchihasuke of a corrupt life, accuse Uchihasuke of being domineering and dictatorial, but you can never deny that Uchihasuke is very capable. Didn't you see, how long has it been since Uchihasuke came on stage? Yuditen Koharu, Mito Kato Homura, all live in bridge caves now. For this reason, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others have already kept a low profile for fear of attracting Uchihasuke's attention. Basically, they listen to whatever Uchihasuke says, and they are so well behaved. However, it is simply impossible for them to praise Uchihasuke. Uchihasuke noticed their awkwardness and chuckled. If you have any questions, you can just tell me. It's already time to get off work, and I don't want to work overtime with you two. After Uchihasuke finished speaking, he stretched. Tonight, he has 3 long-simmered delicacies to try. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo became angry after hearing Uchihasuke's words. It's almost time to get off work? They have been waiting all day. But they also know that now is not the time to dwell on this. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Shimura Danzo, and Shimura Danzo immediately took out the prepared documents. Snow Country. Uchihasuke took a look, and the appearance of Feng Wakoyuki immediately came to mind. Or the future superstar Fujikazei. In the future, Feng Waziaxu will be a superstar famous in the entire ninja world. In the eyes of ordinary people, Feng Waziaxu is recognized as the most beautiful actress. Being rated as the most beautiful actor, it is not difficult to see that Feng Waziaxu is extremely good looking. Plus she has the bonus of being a real princess. Even a man can't help but be moved, unless he doesn't do anything about it. It's just that Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are not like people who take the initiative to find women for him in the center. If it were Hyaga Hisashi, Uchihasuke would feel more reasonable. Uchihasuke looked at the two of them suspiciously. When something goes wrong, there must be a monster. Sarutobi Jonin, what do you mean? Uchihasuke did not show his inner thoughts. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo had expected Uchiha to perform like this. Assistant Hokage, although Konoha has established the strongest position now, other ninja villages must be dissatisfied after suffering such big losses in this war. If we can take the opportunity to control the country of snow at this time, we will definitely be able to use it. Our position in Konoha is more stable. Yes, Assistant Hokage, if we Konoha controls the snow fruit, if Rock Shinobi village dares to offend us Konoha again in the future, we can let the snow ninja attack Rock Shinobi from behind, take charge of the snow country, and attack us Konoha. It is said to have huge strategic significance. It's a pity that Uchiha didn't even listen to what they said. After thinking about their recent actions, Uchiha understood what they meant. Are you trying to use a honey trap to weaken my pupils? Unfortunately, what I have is not Mangekyo Sharinan, but Eternal Mangekyo Sharinan. Please do more of these honey traps. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo set a new standard for Uchiha. Uchiha then agreed. From this point of view, this mission is indeed an opportunity for our Konoha. In order to show our sincerity to Konoha, I will personally go to the snow country as Hokage's assistant to help the snow country recover. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo's eyes lit up when they heard this. He didn't expect Uchiha to be so easy to fool and agree so easily. At the same time, Chunin couldn't help but smile to himself. Uchiha was indeed so lustful. They even thought that maybe they wouldn't even need to give the excuse above. Uchiha will go to the land of snow himself just by looking at the photo of Fenghua Koyuki. However, they would not say these words. Assistant Hokage is indeed very righteous. I think the king of snow country will be very happy when he finds out. Haha, with the snow country, our Konoha will be stronger. Uchiha also had fun with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. After all this time, they finally did something humane. If the two of them hadn't handed this document to Uchiha, Uchiha would have almost forgotten about the snow country. In other words, he wouldn't know it so soon. But Uchiha is also a little confused. Fenghua Zioxu was older than he knew. If he remembered correctly, Zioxu Fenghua in the original work should be the same age as Kakashi, or maybe a little younger. According to the documents provided by Shimura Danzo, Fenghua Koyuki is 28 years old as him. This is also the reason why Uchiha didn't pay attention to snow country for a while, because it is against the law to be petty. But these are no longer problems now. Next, the Hokage office was in a happy mood. Uchiha was looking forward to the snow country and his party, and Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen also achieved their expected goals. This time, Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen reaped the benefits. They looked at each other. Although they didn't say 4.0 clearly, they had exactly the same idea in their hearts. From now on, they will vigorously search for beautiful women. Especially for beauties that are difficult to obtain, it would be best to make Uchiha lose a lot of strength in the process, so that they can carry out Konoha's subversion plan in the future. Yes, they are ready. The day Kusina gives birth will be the day they start their plan to subvert Konoha. Ha 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 ha. Not long after, the laughter of three people came from Hokage's office. There are more than 55,967 flowers today, keep adding more. Asking for flowers, asking for evaluation votes, and asking for monthly votes. The monthly ticket has not been increased for several days. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 157. Tap tap tap. When Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo left, Azabuye also returned to the Hokage office with clothes. After a rough fight, Uchiha, Azabuye, and Samai returned to the Tingley courtyard. Jejun, you are here. By wooden golem. After hearing the movement outside the door, he trotted to the door to greet him. When he saw Uchiha there, an unusual flush appeared on his face. During this time, Uchihasu's rope skills improved by leaps and bounds, and she came up with a variety of tricks. By Wooden Golem has long been different from before. Now after seeing Uchihasu, his body will even undergo special changes. Although today was the same as usual, whether it was Wooden Golem or Azabuye, Samai smelled an unusual smell. The atmosphere in the courtyard is even more ambiguous. They had some vague guesses about what might happen today, but they were mostly looking forward to it. They have been waiting for this day for a long time. If Uchihasu doesn't take action, it will be time for them to take action. That night, Uchihasu stayed overnight in Tinlei courtyard as expected. Holding 3 red ropes in his hands, he performed the rope art 3 times and performed on the same stage. Then, also try Uchihasu, the triple-decker burger. I have to say that ripe fruit is delicious, sweet enough and juicy. At the same time, the notification sound of the emotion system also surprised Uchihasu. Collected by Wooden Golem taboo, restriction, helplessness, strong, longing emotions. The total emotional value this time is 22,200 points, and the current cumulative emotional value is 115,000 points. Collect Sam's emotions of joy, impulse, indulgence, obsession, and taboos. The total emotional value this time is 22,100 points, and the current cumulative emotional value is 137,100 points. Collect Azabuye's shock, excitement, novelty, trembling, and taboo emotions. The total emotional value this time is 22,300 points, and the current cumulative emotional value is 159,400 points. By Wooden Golem, each of them contributed over 20,000 emotion points to Uchihasu. The total emotional value is nearly 70,000, which is more than what he had put together in the past few days. It's only 40,000 short of 200,000. The body of an immortal is right before your eyes. Of course, what surprises Uchiha even more is that he gets additional rewards for accumulating emotions. Uchihasu obtained a B-level treasure chest via Wooden Golem. You can get a C-level treasure chest through Samai, and you can also get a C-level treasure chest through Azabuye. Today, Uchihasu stayed at Tinglei Yuan. In addition to Azabuye and the others being familiar with it, part of the reason was because the accumulated emotions in the emotion collection system had reached the peak, and he could no longer continue to accumulate emotions through small interactions. This led Uchihasu to speculate that everyone has an upper limit for emotional accumulation. And this reward also gave Uchihasu a rough guess about accumulating additional treasure chests. Among the 3 girls, Wooden Golem has the most outstanding strength. After all, it is the second-tailed Jinchuriki. Samai and Azabuye are a bit worse. Does it mean that the higher a woman's overall score is, the higher the level of the treasure chest she obtains? Uchihasu made a vague guess. Loosen the ropes on the 3 girls in linen clothes and cover them with quilts. Uchihasu came to the window and silently looked at the 3 treasure boxes in his hands. The first thing Uchihasu looked at were 2 C-level treasure chests. Open the treasure chest. Ding, get, Xianshu Spring Eye Building. Ding, get, a teleportation array. At first, Uchiha didn't expect much from the 2 C-level treasure chests. Because the C-level treasure chest doesn't look like a high-level treasure chest at first glance. But 2 things popped out, making Uchiha's eyes widen. Not to mention a teleportation array, which can directly connect any 2 locations. After entering one of them, you will appear in the other one the next second. This is much stronger than time and space ninjutsu, because time and space ninjutsu consumes a large amount of chakra depending on the distance. Moreover, ordinary people cannot master space-time ninjutsu. The teleportation array has no consumption and can also be used by ordinary people. What shocked Uchihasu even more was the Senjutsu Spring Building. Xianshu Spring Building, It can gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form the power of nature, helps living beings to understand, master, and learn the power of nature, included a fairy stick. After seeing the Senjutsu spring building, Uchihasuke immediately thought of the toad oil at Mount Myaboku. The Senjutsu spring building in front of you is a facility similar to Mount Myaboku toad oil. And Mount Myaboku became the mainland due to the toad oil. In terms of changing cards, you can build another holy land with the fairy spring building in hand. That being said, I do not have a summoning man yet. Before, I was thinking of choosing one of these three at Mount Myaboku, Shiga Forest, or Ryokai Cave, and learning Sage Mode by the way. After all, clearing the pipes every day is not a problem. Uchihasuke plans to free up some time every day for the next period of time to practice Senjutsu. This can save a lot of emotional value. After all, Uchihasuke has a lot of things in mind. For example, Mangekyou technique is worth 100,000 emotions. Like Kamui, distinguished heavenly gods, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, flame control, you name it. Another example is bloodline. For these items that cannot be obtained through practice, Uchiha plans to give priority to using the emotional value to exchange them. Ninjutsu such as Senjutsu, Forbidden Technique, and Uchihasuke are based on the philosophy that if you can practice it by yourself, you can practice it by yourself. It's time to save, it's time to spend time, ride hello to the bar. Now Uchihasuke can completely find another race and make it a summoning race that is not inferior to the three holy places. Anyway, we are going to the land of snow next, so we can put aside the matter of summoning beast for now. Thinking of this, Uchihasuke put away the portal and the Senju spring building. Then Uchihasuke looked at the last treasure box, a B-level treasure box. Even the 2-level treasure chests can reveal such high-quality items. Uchihasuke can't imagine what the B-level treasure chests can bring out. Taking a deep breath, Uchihasuke spoke softly. Emotion collection system, open B-level treasure chest. The next second, the treasure chest is opened. After the colorful light and shadow, Uchihasuke quickly saw the items in the treasure box. The outline of a knife can be vaguely seen. A knife, right? Uchihasuke murmured. However, when he saw clearly what the knife was, he was shocked. There are more than 55,967 flowers today, keep adding more. Asking for flowers, asking for evaluation votes, and asking for monthly votes. The monthly ticket has not been increased for several days. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 158. This turned out to be a Zanpakuto. The items in the treasure chest are very familiar to Uchihasuke. They are weapons exclusive to Shinigami in Shinigami, one of the 3 famous anime. Zanpakuto, weapons from Otherworld after liberation, you can gain great strength and magical abilities. This weapon has a certain degree of adaptability due to world rules, so the host is asked to figure it out by himself. Ding, get a random Zanpakuto drawing opportunity. Ding, the Emotion Mall has opened an exclusive redemption section for Zanpakuto. Uchihasuke held Zanpakuto in his hand and looked at the system prompts in shock. The item that comes out of the B-level treasure chest seems to be 1 item, but is actually 3 items. The first one is the actual Zanpakuto in his hand. The second one is a random Zanpakuto drawing chance, which means that Uchiha can obtain one of the Zanpakuto abilities in the Shinigami world through the drawing. And the Zanpakuto in his hand is equivalent to the all-powerful Zanpakuto. Whatever ability he has can perform Shikai and Bankai with corresponding abilities. The newly opened Zanpakuto exclusive exchange column in the Emotion Mall allows Uchihasuke to redeem more Zanpakuto through emotional values and gain more abilities. Uchihasuke was in the Emotion Mall and saw the Peak Fire type Zanpakuto Ryujinjaka, the Illusion type Zanpakuto Kyoka Suijutsu, and the Zanpakuto Zanjutsu used by Kurosaki Ichigo. I didn't expect that this is a B-level treasure chest that can actually unlock these precious items, so what can be unlocked from an A-level treasure chest or a higher level treasure chest? Uchihasuke took the knife in his hand, weighed it twice, and made two gestures. It is indeed a product produced by the system, it must be a high-quality product. Even without liberation, its material and texture are far superior to the long knife I always wear on my waist. You must know that although the long sword on my waist is not as famous as Orochimaru's grass sword, it is also the top ninja sword in the entire ninja world. There is no doubt that the resources Uchihasuke has in his hands as a Hokage assistant are definitely beyond the imagination of any ninja, and the sword in his hand is naturally of high quality. But compared with the Zanpakuto in his hand, it was not on the same level at all. However, the decorative significance of things like knives is greater than the practical significance to me. After all, I always fight in a Gundam. The only opportunity to use it is to use the divine body to control it for a moment, and use the sword to get close to kill. I'm really curious about what kind of Zanpakuto I can draw. Emotional system, randomly select and draw Zanpakut. Soon a huge turntable appeared in front of Uchihasuke, with all the Zanpakuto he had ever seen on it, each Zanpakuto occupying the same grid. When Uchihasuke confirms the draw, a pointer quickly rotates over these grids. The speed is getting faster and faster, even so fast that Uchiha can't see the pointer clearly. Then as time went by, the pointer slowly slowed down and stopped little by little. To be honest, the Zanpakuto that Uchihasuke most wants to obtain is Kyoka Suijutsu, because the ability of that Zanpakuto is so strong that it can completely control people's five senses. This, coupled with his body control, is simply invincible. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. The pointer crossed Kyoka Suijutsu little by little in Uchihasuke's eyes and finally stopped on the Shinso column. Almost instantly, Uchihasuke recalled a man who was accustomed to squinting and rarely opened his eyes. At the same time, Shinso's abilities also appeared on the Zanpakuto in the hands of Uchihasuke. Zanpakuto. Current ability, Shinso. Shinso. After liberating Shikai in the first stage, the blade can be extended instantly, changing the length to assassinate the opponent, and enhance its attack speed and power. The maximum extension limit is 100 times. After liberating Bankai in Section 2, everything around it was instantly chopped open, with great impact and cutting force, and the expansion and contraction speed was 500 times the speed of sound. Although I didn't draw Uchihasuke's favorite Kyoka Suijutsu, Zanjutsu, or Ryujinjaka. But Uchihasuke also feels that Shinso is pretty good too. Although Shinso's abilities are not as strong as those of the Zanpakuto mentioned above. However, he is really handsome, especially with his Mangekyou technique God body. Uchihasuke even had the picture in his mind. When he wanted to control the enemy with his divine body, he gently raised the Zanpakuto in his hand and said softly, "Shoot him, Shinso." Then when the enemy was unable to move, the long knife in his hand stretched out and instantly penetrated the enemy's vitals. From this point of view, this Shinso complements my divine body. With it, as long as an enemy is controlled by me, I can kill it in an instant. While obtaining Shinso, the sale of Shinso Zanpakuto in the Uchihasuke Emotional Mall has been changed to Mastering the Shinso Zanpakuto Exchange. Fully understanding first stage Shikai requires 20,000 emotion points. And if you want to directly understand the second stage Liberation of Bankai, you need 200,000 emotion points. If you redeem Shikai first and consume 20,000 emotional points, then you only need 180,000 emotional points to redeem Bankai. In other words, the redemption of the Zanpo knife is divided into two stages. No, it's three stages. The first stage is to obtain the Zanpakuto. The original price of Shinso in the Emotion Mall is 200,000 emotion points. Then, the second stage is the first stage of liberation, Shikai. The third stage is the second stage of liberation, Bankai. Calculated in this way, One Zanpakuto will consume 400,000 emotional points. Uchiha couldn't help but clicked his tongue. In his opinion, Zanpakuto is not necessarily much better than Mangekyo Sharinan, but its price is higher than Mangekyo Sharinan. Maybe this is the ability from Otherworld, so it is equivalent to a tariff-like restriction. Shaking his head, Uchiha then looked at the Zanpakuto in his hand, nothing. Asking for flowers, asking for evaluation votes, and asking for monthly votes. 200 flowers, are they all gone? In the future, more flowers will be added, enough for 200 flowers in a single day, and 5 new flowers will be added on the same day. If it is not enough, it will be updated 3 times, and this chapter will be considered as an additional update. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 159. As time goes by, Uchiha learns more and more about Zanpakuto. After Zanpakuto came to the Hokage ninja world, he no longer used Ryutsu, but chakra. In some aspects, abilities have a certain way out from those in the Shinigami world. After all, the worlds are different. However, the gap between Shinso's abilities and those in the Shinigami world is relatively small. After all, Shinso's abilities do not involve any special power. They are simply lengthening and shortening. It is nothing more than the speed of lengthening and shortening. Thinking of this, Uchiha suddenly thought of a special item he found while browsing the Mood Mall out of boredom today. Permission to optimize special parts of organs is granted once. Function: after use, the appearance, length, and size of the organ can be slightly adjusted, and its characteristics can be given. It can be long or short, flexible. Ability. This ability is the same as the Zanpakuto Shinso ability that Uchiha just acquired. The difference is that one is used for fighting, and the other is used to burn the midnight oil and fight at night. However, it is still a battle. It's a pity that the emotional value required for redemption of this special item is not low. It requires a full 100,000 emotional value. Uchiha suffers from insufficient emotional value, so he can only suppress it temporarily. There is a lack of emotional value everywhere. Unfortunately, this emotional system is too selective. Ordinary women don't give emotional values at all, only specific roles. Looks like Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo really did a good thing. 317 ha 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 ha. Please do more of this good deed. Uchiha is full of confidence that Fenghua Koyuki will gain emotional points. After all, Fenghua Zyoksu is also a main female character in the theater version, and she can definitely meet the requirements of the emotional system. But, having said that, this modification is just a biological modification to a certain extent. Orochimaru has unique experience in this area, and maybe he can do it if the needs are told to him. However, Uchiha quickly gave up this idea. After all, this special organ is used when he is with his women. If Orochimaru were to modify one and install it on him, Uchiha always feels like being bullied. After all, that thing was made by someone else, or a man, so Uchiha instinctively rejected it. In comparison, your own is the best, just optimize your own. After thinking wildly for a long time, Uchiha took Zanpakuto back. At the same time, the land of snow. In a small border village. Princess Koyuki Konoha has responded to the letter. Not only did they accept our rescue, but they even promised us to restore the country. God bless us, we will never have to run away again. Mr. Asama knelt down to Fenghua with tears in his eyes. In front of Zyoksu. Fenghua Zyoksu looked in disbelief. How is it possible? The commission we gave is so low, how could they help us restore the country? This news is definitely correct. How could a ninja village as powerful as Konoha deceive us on such a matter? There is nothing we can be deceived about. That's true. Feng Huaxiaoxu's eyes had a hint of brilliance. She looked back at the territory of the land of snow, and the fear in her eyes was lessened. She had been frightened these days. If her father hadn't had many loyal men who helped her escape at the expense of themselves, she might have been caught by Feng Hua raging Tao. Because the coup was so sudden, Feng Huaxiaoxu didn't have much savings in her hands and couldn't afford higher-level tasks. In her opinion, the most money she had in her hands would allow Konoha to send a ninja to rescue her from the land of snow. Although Konoha's behavior is a bit abnormal, as Asama Santao said, she has nothing in her hands, and she doesn't know what else she can do that Konoha will miss. In this case, Santeifu, let's wait for the Konoha shinobi in this town for the time being. It's Princess Xiaoxiu. I'm going to arrange my men now to clean up this place so that Princess Xiaoxiu can live more comfortably. Mr. Asama was full of fighting spirit. Feng Huaxiaoxiu nodded, feeling a little more hopeful about the future. Originally, she was prepared to live a life of ups and downs, but she didn't expect that the sudden good news from Konoha made her feel like things were turning upside down. So good. Uchiha did not set off after agreeing to Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. And there was no sign of leaving home for several days. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, who had already thought that the plan, Abai, had succeeded, were a little puzzled. They gradually began to feel anxious and visited the Hokage office several times. Although he said nothing, Uchiha could see their anxious looks. However, they didn't mention it, and Uchiha didn't mention it either, but he just did Tai Chi with them. The original plan was that Uchiha did plan to go alone. After all, he has no intention of staying in the snow country for too long, and he can go faster alone. But Uchiha has just obtained a special prop teleportation array through the emotion collection system. This prop does not exist in the emotional mall. With the teleportation array, Uchiha doesn't even have to set off by himself. He sent a shadow clone to carry the portal towards the Kingdom of Snow, while he himself sat in Konoha and Kushina and fought night and night, accumulating emotional points, and through his unremitting efforts, slowly became stronger. It was not until the shadow clone chakra was exhausted that the shadow clone was allowed to set up the portal. Uchiha sent out a new shadow clone and continued to move towards the snow country with the portal. Therefore, Uchiha does not have to suffer from traveling at all. And no matter how far away the snow country is, he can go back and forth at any time. I thought it was the most useless portal, but I didn't expect that Uchiha would also play the biggest role here. The teleportation array has also become Uchiha's favorite item among the 3 treasure chests. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo don't know all this. When they received the news that Uchiha appeared in the land of snow in the future, the two of them were filled with confusion. Because they frequently visited the Hokage office during this period, they knew that the Uchiha in the Hokage office was the real person, not a shadow clone. Because Uchiha possessiveness goes hand in hand with his lust, even a shadow clone cannot have any intimate contact with his women. But, just like that, Uchiha somehow appeared in snow country under their noses. This made them fear Uchiha even more. How long did it take for Uchiha to master a powerful space-time ninjutsu? If he is allowed to develop slowly, God knows how powerful he will become. Fortunately, Kushina has been pregnant for some time now, and her belly is slightly bulging. It actually made Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others feel less anxious. Feng Huaxiaoxu is still in the country of snow, so naturally she cannot escape the search of Feng Hua and raging waves. After confirming Feng Huaxiaoxu's actions, Feng Hua Nudao led his men and took a flying boat to the small town. The other direction. 2 figures wearing black and red cloud costumes were also moving quickly in the direction of this small town in the land of snow. Are all the 200 flowers per day gone? Today's flowers exceed 55982,5 updates. If not, there will be 3 updates. Please give me flowers, please give me flowers, please give me flowers. Konoha, I am really not a bad person. Author, Cat on the List. Chapter 160. The land of snow is getting closer. In the woods, two figures in black robes with red clouds gradually slowed down. One of them is thin and has red hair, and his eyes are almost completely covered by bangs. However, you can see a hint of purple from the gaps between his movements. None other than the legendary eye, Rinnegan. The other person also wore a mask on his face. Only one eye was exposed on the spiral mask, and the scarlet cherry non flashed with a strange light. Afei, are you sure that Konoha's Hokage assistant will go to the land of snow this time? I always feel that this news is ridiculous. How could he go to a place like that? Nagato, the news must be true, because the snow country has what Uchiha needs. Afei's voice was a little low, and his neck could be seen to be a terrifying pale white under the mask. Recalling the image of Uchiha in her mind, Uchiha Madara's heart was filled with anger. Originally, he had already chosen the character who would play the role of Afei, and he even told him about the backstage. However, all plans were ruined by Orochimaru. At first, the person Uchiha Madara hated was Orochimaru. But as he learned more about Konoha, he discovered that Orochimaru was not the key figure, and the person who ruined his plan was Uchiha. That was the inconspicuous figure standing next to him when he attacked the cave last time. After Uchiha Obito's plan was lost, Uchiha Madara had to go into battle personally under the instigation of Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu has been waiting for thousands of years, and he doesn't want to wait any longer. Uchiha Madara didn't want his resurrection plan to go wrong, and he had no time to look for new characters. Although the reality is different from their previously expected plan, hanging Uchiha Madara's life through White Zetsu is still an option. Moreover, Uchiha Madara is also a little stronger than Uchiha Obito, and may be able to complete the plan better. That is, this process, Uchiha Madara was miserable. After all, the process of transformation is not something people can bear. Obito only changed half of his body into White Zetsu, while Uchiha changed his whole body into White Zetsu. The White Zetsu transformed Uchiha Madara directly appeared in the Akatsuki organization as Fei. From secretly controlling the Akatsuki organization, to directly influencing and intervening. Of course, Yahiko Nagato Konan and the others do not know of Fei's true identity. Nagato nodded, but he still felt that this mission was full of strangeness, because the client of this mission was from Konoha. Konoha is really a place full of filth, yet you spend so much money to attack your own Hokage assistant? Haha, Nagato, where there are people there is struggle. If we weaken Konoha through this mission, it will be a good thing for our future plans, but we have to be careful. Although Uchiha is young, his abilities are too weird. Uchiha Madara naturally knows Sharingan very well, and he guesses that Uchiha ability to seal people comes from his Mangekyo pupil technique. Before coming, Uchiha Madara roughly told Nagato about Uchiha abilities, which was also the reason why the two of them came together. Even, because of Uchiha ability, the Akatsuki organization has established a tradition of two people from now on. Nagato also responded with emotion, that is indeed a powerful and enviable ability. Nagato, you have the legendary Rinnegan, don't envy him. Nagato just smiled and didn't reply. Rinnegan is indeed powerful, but he hasn't fully developed it to its limit yet. In other words, developing Rinnegan is a long process, and it can only be accelerated unless a large amount of life force is overdrawn. While the two were talking, the scenery ahead changed dramatically. Large tracts of white snow-capped mountains began to appear, and for a time there was only one color left in the world, white. In the other direction of them, Uchiha shadow clone stopped in a mountain col, took out a palm-sized teleportation array and placed it on the ground. After confirming the arrangement of the teleportation array flashed a light and quickly grew in size, eventually forming a circular light array about 5 meters long and 5 meters wide. After a while, Uchihasu's figure appeared from the light. "Zero, please give me flowers." "Thank you. It is my honor to serve you." "Okay, you have completed your mission and can leave." Uchihasu waved his hand, and the shadow clone in front of him turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared with a bang. Then, Uchihasu reached out and grabbed the teleportation array. The teleportation array quickly became smaller at a speed visible to the naked eye, and soon returned to the size of a palm, and flew back to Uchihasu's hand. When the teleportation array was not enlarged, it was like a ring bracelet, so Uchihasu simply put it on his wrist. Anyway, the products produced by the system must be high quality, and the teleportation array has the ability to be indestructible and self-healing. Even if you wear it on your hand, you don't have to worry about it getting damaged. Moreover, it is also convenient to use Uchihasu on the bracelet and is not easy to lose. After finishing everything, Uchihasu turned his head and looked in the direction of snow country. Under the sky full of white snow, a small town looks particularly abrupt. It was already approaching dusk, and candlelight flickered in the town, adding a different charm to the white snow. It seems that this is Snowflake Town, exactly as described in the mission. Uchihasu disappeared in a flash, entered Snowflake Town, and then followed the brief introduction of the mission and began to look for a contact point to connect with the mission target. Not long after, Uchihasu stopped in front of an inconspicuous hut. A middle-aged man was busy among them, commanding 2 or 3 subordinates. Although it was the first time they met, Uchiha recognized this middle-aged man at a glance. "Mr. Asama. Third husband, where is Princess Zyoksu?" When Uchihasu opened his mouth, Mr. Asama was startled. He instinctively thought that Fenghua Furontayo had sent someone to chase him. Until he looked up and saw Uchihasu's outfit. A burst of ecstasy immediately rose on his face. 200 flowers, are they all gone? There are more than 55,982 flowers today, 5 more updates.